Hello guys, welcome back to movie reviews. It's time for the next special, of course, which is in the planet really for these 22 specials, of course. And today we're looking at films that were released in 2020 and 2021. So for the past 2 years, from last year and the year before. So it's going to be a top 10 this time, so it's going to be different. It's going to be a ranking video, this is. So you'll be looking forward. It's an interesting format, really. I think I haven't done such a thing since the worst films, my personal least favorite films of all time in terms of a ranking video. So it's another best breath of fresh air rather than just talking about films like from chronological from year by year, like the previous one, 1980 to 2019, to I would probably say, all the rest really from the 80s, 90s, well, all different series really, all selected to a different a selected genre. So I don't know. But we're here to talk about new releases, so there we go. So top 10. Let's do this quickly because this is my second attempt because the first time I did this, I believe YouTube started just crashed and I went, oh shit. So I decided to go redo it again. So let's go quickly through this. Indeed. So number 10 is Jungle Cruise. I don't have the DVD on me at the moment because my parents are borrowing it at the moment because they want to see it. So there we go. So Jungle Cruise, the film starring Dwayne Johnson, Emily Blunt, Jack Whitehall, Paul Giamatti, all these characters, based on a thing about Ryan from Disneyland. Same thing, like they did the same thing with Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean beforehand, and I think Tomorrowland as well. I think so. It's an interesting, really. It's a fun little romp. It is, and you get to enjoy the visual force. It's got good humor as well. Jack Whitehall's actually pretty funny. Actually, this film, I actually do like his performance in this. Actually, Emily Blunt's pretty good. Obviously, she's gone off fame of the Quiet Place films, another film, and marriage to John Krasinski, that sort of thing. Obviously, so star power then Dwayne Johnson, of course. You get like a blockbuster film with him, with his face plastered on the film. I enjoyed it really, but one part sort of makes me put this lower is because it's riffing off Pirates of the Caribbean. Obviously, you get the whole thing, of course, is based on a attraction it is, of course, but it ends up when they get to the tribes and to the tribes, and also it's revealed that Frank's immortal. It becomes basically a Pirates of the Caribbean clone at this point. It's riffing off like Curse of Black Pearl and stuff, and it's like, oh, for God's sakes, really? Can you just try something different? But I think this is how they written it. I don't know really, unless it was trying they want to do something that's more like that. Really, I think it could be. I think it's trying to be Pirates of the Caribbean because they won't be doing it. I think they won't be doing any more really. They've done the 5 films, obviously, with Johnny Depp's, controversies and everything else at that point, and court cases, allegations, and everything else. Whereas marriage, it's trying to think, oh, Jungle Cruise, that could be the next thing that can just go off and how many sequels we can do for, and just try and carry that sort of Pirates of the Caribbean legacy. It's like, I just don't know, but I just don't know really. But it sort of lets it down really. It lets the film down. It does, and but there's some good action, good humor, and it's worth checking out. If you like, it's a good popcorn movie. I describe films like that. You enjoy the fun, the action, the humor, and the visuals and everything else. And it's again pretty good stuff for what Disney have done. Obviously, they've done at this point, for live action films, and yeah, it's just a fun romp. It is. It's got big names in it. It's a fun romp. Definitely worth seeing out of it if you want to check it out. Really, on Disney Plus or get on DVD, whatever, Blu-ray, whatever. But for me, it just feels like it's retreading Pirates of the Caribbean. It is, so that's why it's down for. It's why it's at the bottom spot. So there we go. So number 9 is Bill and Ted Face the Music from 2020. This is the only film from 2020 that I've seen really. I haven't really seen any others. All these other films come from 2021, so which actually says something really because it's like a bit of improvement. It is really, because like you got all the heavy hitters started coming out last year really, and yeah, I something. So this is the third film for the Bill and Ted franchise really, because you had Excellent Adventure, which I've seen on VHS years ago, a long time ago. Same with the likes of the first 2 Terminator movies, Predator 2, Heartbreak Ridge. What else? Wanted Dead or Alive as well. So then movies, of course, and Blood Ted Excellent Adventure was among a lot. Bogus Junior saw on TV years ago as well at one point. I think I only saw it once really, but I enjoyed it for how weird it was. And then we get this third movie, Um, it's not as batshit insane as what the first two films were. Really, it's not as well. Bogus Joe is more insane, really, in terms of the whole afterlife stuff and everything else. But and obviously, X Adventure is basically like a very fun time travel movie, just going around different parts of history, of course, and just picking people up. You think, awesome dude, and it's like meddling with the force of time, really. It's all does really, but it's mainly about personal for these lot. It's all about Bill and Ted. It's all about them, and also when they go through up to the future of what they get up to really in the the future. They play the bar they are. For like just to a bunch of people really. Because it's like Taco Tuesday or something like that. They're in Dave Grohl's mansion, pretending to be caretakers, but they're not. They're basically just living there without him knowing. They're in prison. They are, like as muscular bodybuilders, bulky bodybuilders, and there is old men on the deathbeds really. And it's more of a personal thing really, in some regards, but also you got the whole thing involving the marriages between and also the daughters. And the daughters are more supportive of the dads really than the parents, than the mothers really. And the whole thing about the writer's story to save the world, save the universe really. That could save mankind. I just don't know really. It's like I don't know. It is going to be. It's like a bit weak. It is. It's like we'll try and we'll get this. It's like a what do you call it? Like you get like an artifact, something like that could save the world from the apocalypse, like from heavy rains and tornadoes and the earth burning up. Really, it's basically that sort of thing. But you sing a song and it's basically like all hope is great and everything else. We have hope and all sorts. Really, and yeah, that's so another. It just felt a little bit weak, really, indeed. I mean, it was okay watching it, really, and had a very decent time. But I think the whole stuff involving them seeing the future selves really is pretty interesting. Is the interesting thing about it, really. You've also got the whole future stuff, of course. Obviously, I think it's the daughter, who's played Rufus's daughter, George Carlin's character's daughter, is taking over that sort of place in the film. She's all right, really, and it's all right, really. I mean, on its spectacle, of course, I think it's all right, really. I think because obviously it's a number 9, of course, and it's got a decent casting, of course. Marv Weaving's in, of course, in it, and William Sadler from Death Returns, of course. Indeed, most of the characters from the first two films come back anyway, so yeah, it's all right, really. Just I just don't know. I just put it number 9, really. So there we go, Bill and Ted, based on music. In number 8 is speaking of Alex Winter, Zappa. So this is a documentary about Frank Zappa. Basically, most of his life story from his career, really, until he passed away, really. From his early humble beginnings to experimentation, Studio Z, his family life, mother's invention, the whole, his political views, basically his stardom throughout the decades, really. His political endeavours involving the typical censor campaign, rather being against that, or trying to oppose that, really. And also him wants to be like an American ambassador or like a mayor or something, or inside for a different country. I think like he having something like America on the side, apparently, something like that, really. And then leads it to his death, really, when he was diagnosed with cancer. And yeah, it's just a very, if you're a Zappa fan, definitely worth seeking this out. Very well made, and good interviews as well. Fantastic stuff from various different people who worked with Zappa over the years, people from the Mother's Invention up until some recent to his recent collaborators for his death and everything else, family as well. And yeah, it's definitely worth seeking out. This version here is the only sort of physical copy you can probably get in HMV or something like that. Special edition. It's both Blu-ray and DVD, so don't be fooled. Just because it's in a Blu-ray case doesn't mean it has DVD in it, of course. So you have your own DVD version, which is great. Blu-ray, it's just there really, because everyone has Blu-rays these days, including myself. So there we are. But there we go. It's a nice documentary. If you're a fan of Zappa, definitely worth checking it out. Number 7, we have got Mortal Kombat 2021. I watched this last night actually, and it's again like Jungle Cruise. It's like a popcorn movie. You're there for its action, humor, and just overall general stuff really. Good set of characters. Some of the characters actually really enjoy this one. I mean, Kano is the obvious one because he's flat out hilarious. He's really funny. He is. You always, I mean, you always have one quips in the games really, but I never realised how funny the actor who plays him is really. Jesus Christ, very hilarious. And actually, when you know, and also he's like gleeful when he finds he's got like a laser coming out of his eye when he gets angry. He has his power. You know, things against superpowers like him, shooting flames out of his hands and stuff like that. You know, like keeps pestering them, like Liu Kang and Kung Lao. Oh, it's funny. Kung Lao's pretty good as well. Liu Kang's great as well. Jax I enjoy. Who else? I mean, Raiden has a bit of funny moments as well. He's very strong, straight, very sort of background character, really. Like the wise, sort of wise and knows really, and yeah, it's like that really. And obviously, there's some little bit, maybe like a little bit of like a little funny moment with him, really, and yeah, interesting. The thing was with this film, I was quite surprised. He focusing more on obviously he's focused on Cole Youngsters and some MMA fighter who's been chosen because he bears the marking tattoo he does, the mark he does. But actually, it does when you tackle people. Actually, I think you see it with Sonya Blade towards the end when she fights Kano at the end at trailer park, really, where she resides, and and she gains the mark and she does on it, and yeah, it's this whole thing really. You know, again, it's a really good time and good fun action. It's bloody as well. It's all blood stars and everything. It's very violent. It is. Maybe 15 points, definitely worth seeing really because it's again just violent, very good. Use a little Chinese, Japanese language as well. Actually, I'm not bothered really. I don't mind that sort of stuff. I'm used to watching foreign language films there with subtitles. That's no problem. But I just enjoyed it really. I thought it was again pretty good stuff really. I won't say it's top tier really, but it's just a fun movie to really get into. It's a popcorn movie you can watch for your mates over a few drinks or stuff, and it's pretty good. You know, good action, good visuals, got humour as well, many from Kano, and yeah, I just thought it was pretty good stuff really. You know, don't know when they're gonna go where we're gonna go with this franchise really, because obviously probably did pretty good actually. So we'll have to see what happens in the future. So our number 7 is Mortal Kombat from 2021. Now number 6 we've got another DVD I don't have in the at the moment. Well, it's not really my DVD; it's my mum's DVD really. I saw it in cinemas though. As I say, not One Flew in the Grave. No, they never show movies in cinemas like that. Shows TV shows like that. Jeez, if they did, just to round up the characters, they show like a sitcom or something, or 25-minute episode or something. Who knows? It's A Quiet Place Part 2 or Quiet Place 2, I think. I've seen the first film beforehand because my mum was gearing up to watch it when it was coming out early 2020. Obviously, got postponed for the pandemic. Obviously, got released. When did it come out? I think it was like during spring or summer around that time, really. And watching it, actually watching it at the cinema is an interesting experience because it relies on no sound, no dialogue very much at all really, and it's quite tense as well. In terms of, you feel gripping your seat really. See what happens really. I mean, people probably are desensitized at that point really. It's like little jump scare, that sort of thing. It's like really. I enjoyed it for what it was. I think I did, and just in terms of intensity, the use of no dialogue, and also having watched the first film and getting context of it, really, it's interesting. You get flashbacks to the first one from how the invasion started. You introduced Emmett, really, so you set up his character very much like you introduced this character played by Cillian Murphy. I think you meet him on later on, and I think that sort of maybe distracts it a little bit, really, because you think of Emily Blunt leading the film, of course, which she sort of does in the first one, but John Krasinski as well. Them two just taking the role, really, all the family is. In this one, it's basically Cillian Murphy and the daughter, really, and Emily Blunt's daughter, really, that take on the role. They're the two of the main focus. Emily Blunt sort of gets shafted, really, in this, obviously looking after a son who has been fucked up by a bear trap, really. And yeah, it's just that sort of thing. But and that leads to them buggering off, going to a distant island with a community of civilization of survivors, only to be raptured by these creatures, who get lured by sound, really. Then to escape and go to a radio station, and then destroying them with the hearing aids at the end. it just goes like that, really. Obviously, again, it's Cillian Murphy led because he's in it throughout. He is taking the lead spot, really. I do like the idea that he doesn't really understand, but don't understand language stuff, and also she's deaf, really. Like he's trying to communicate, but in like a sort of abrasive, unsure way, really. Like it's not like every man probably first encounter a deaf person probably will actually. Who knows? But I enjoyed it for what it was. I enjoyed the intensity of it, really, and it works. The idea of just like just being quiet, no sounds, a little bit of little bit of dialogue, indeed, and it makes it works. It does. It makes it sort of, it gives it a very intense experience. It does. If you see in the cinemas like I did, which was my first cinema going since Joker in 2019. So that was something really. But I enjoyed it for what it was. So there we go. That's all I can say about Quiet Place 2. So there we go. That's at number 6. Number 5 is Space Jam: A New Legacy. This is at number 5. So I've done Space Jam before. I reviewed it in the last special I did, and because I seen Space Jam back on TV when it was broadcasted, I didn't know what the hell it was, and seeing it's like it was Looney Tunes and basketball. It was a weird experience. It was a very odd film experience. It was like a fever dream, very odd fever dream. It's like if you watch it on a Saturday afternoon or something like that, it was like that is. Well, it was a bit of a bizarre thing. It was obviously it's getting its cult following, of course, and there were talks of doing sequels afterwards. Like they were hoping to do there was talks of doing a second film with Michael Jordan, something called Berserko, I think. Something like that. But obviously, Jordan didn't want to do another one, of course. So the producer sort of lied and think, always up for another one. That never fell through. There was something called Spy Jam with Jackie Chan involved, planned or in development. There was Race Jam with someone called Jeff Gordon, I think, race driver. I'm not too sure. And there was Skate Jam with Tony Hawk, which I think Tony Hawk mentioned that he was sort of up for it, really, and actually he was like looking forward to. Obviously, the self-cancel, I think. And that's sort of like never went anywhere. That sort of left off. That sort of went off and did. And obviously, that led off to do Looney Tunes Back in Action. That felt poorly. I don't mind that film. It's all right, really. I haven't really seen much of it, really, but for what I've seen a bit, pretty okay actually. Pretty decent. Also, the last time they sort of did a film based on Looney Tunes for a long time, and then we come to this film. It's got LeBron James in it, of course. He's one of the producers of it. Do you know what? I enjoyed it for what it was because I thought this film's got rewatchability. I've watched it quite a few times. I've gone back to this film quite a bit, strangely, and just really enjoyed it. I don't know. It's like something you put on and just enjoy it for a long time. You enjoy the fun of it. You enjoy the insaneness of it. Really, the concept's weird. It's interesting because it's quite well. It's all set in a computer server of all things, like a Warner Brothers computer server. Involving multiple franchises. It's basically like Ready Player One, but bit better, really. I think a kid version of Ready Player One, most of that thing, and it works. It does. Whereas the original Space Jam, it was odd, really, because it's the Looney Tunes live underground on a different golf course. That Warner Brothers Looney Tunes universe is on a different golf course in California. Wait, it doesn't make sense really, but that makes sense entirely. It's the same computer, like in computer systems below Warner Brothers. And it works. It does, really. It's a better concept, really. LeBron James, it's all right, really. I don't know. I mean, people probably think he's probably past his prime, really, at this point. I think he probably still does well basketball, really. He was up for it because I think he saw him way back in the day when he was about 12 or something. Space Jam and really blew his head off. And obviously, he got the ball rolling because he's a producer on this, so he has a bit of a creative thing, of course. And it's sort of like very much like that, really. Obviously. It's just something really. I mean, the characters themselves, they've chosen quite a few characters, of this time really. Some of the best known ones, of course, you've got Bugs and Daffy, Porky's in it, Sylvester's in it with Tweety, LaFourgon Leghorn's in it. Who else? Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner, obviously Granny's in it. Who else is in it? Really? I'm just trying to think. So Yosemite Sam as well, and what was his name? Oh. Gosh, the furry fella, big monster fella, he's in it as well, actually. There was an interesting fact about that film, really, the production. Originally, Pepe Le Pew was meant to be in it, strangely, because they had a different director on. Was it Terrence Nance, who actually went to the screenplay, he was meant to direct it, but he bowed out, I think, or something gone wrong. And Pepe Le Pew was in the original stages of that film, really, sort of meant to be in that version of that film. Obviously, Malcolm D. Lee took over, and obviously what became Space Jam, of course. You've also got Lola Bunny as well, who I think at this point, of course, she's sort of just like there, really. Obviously she introduced in Space Jam. She was like a new character introduced, and that caused all sorts, really, the furry community. So there we go. She's voiced by Zendaya at this point, and in this film, it's pretty decent. Again, it's that sort of like tomboyish, heavy hitting, that type of thing, really. Jeff Bergman as Bugs, and also the various characters, because I don't know. I'm used to like Mel Blanc and Billy West, really. Billy West, I listened to that Billy West's voice, really, and it reminds me of Fry, really. It just reminds me of like, his work on Futurama. It just, it just screams Billy Fry for some reason now when I listen to it. Jeff Bergman, I have to admit, actually, when looking back on it, he actually does a very good job impersonating Mel Blanc, he does. I'll give him credit that. It's like, when I first heard him, really, you look at all these Looney Tunes stuff, like, Rabbit and the Looney Tunes show, whatever. I don't know, it seems a bit odd, but in this film, it sort of works. It makes it, it's like he's found the right, he's found his balance, he's found how to sound like Bugs. Yes, indeed, and the various others, of course. Who probably, have done them, of course, really, and actually does a really good job, they do. And the 3D stuff's actually pretty amazing, really. Indeed. So you see them in 2D first, and then you see them in 3D. It's something, really. And you've got the backlog of Warner Bros. Stuff as well, which is bizarre. You've got stuff like from, Batman, the Batman franchise, superheroes, King Kong, Clockwork Orange, The Droogs, all things, Nuns. They say that's from The Devils, the Kevin Russell film, The Devils, Pennywise, of all things, Beetlejuice, everything. Tons, Iron Giant, loads. It's basically like a massive audience. Again, Ready Player One thing, really. Obviously, it's Warner Brothers, and they have the rights to do what they want, really. So they're basically, it's like, it's basically like, it's Warner Brothers, like, it's Warner Brothers' wet dream, I think it is. Well, it's funny. I go back and watch this film sometimes to do it, and it's good. It's just a fun romp. It is. I just enjoy it for what it is in terms of like it's acting from LeBron James and some of his family. I don't mind actually, and also he involves his son, father son dynamic really, and obviously he designs video games. He makes this game that his dad's entered in. Obviously, his rival teams. And yeah, it's just it's interesting. I do one thing I saw criticism that some come up with was the Goon Squad. They show use like cartoon villains, of course. They would probably just use them really. They showed up, maybe they showed up, but they don't like. I think they does this. It's like a similar thing with Space Jam. You just take the muscular things of basketball players and use them really. I do like Don Cheadle as Algae Rhythm. I thought it was pretty wild. It's basically like Nicolas Cage acting for Don Cheadle. I mean, he's like straight actor, pretty good actor. You see him, it's like going over the top. Imagine Nicolas Cage taking the role of Algae Rhythm. I wonder what he would do with that role, But it does feel like this seems like built up for a very man who's quite manic and insane, really. But Cheadle sort of plays it off really. That's all manic, insane toll, really, and it just works really in places. But it's a good fun romp, really. I enjoyed it. I think this is better. I say this is better than the original Space Jam, really. It's just more funny, a bit more interesting. Very just like, it's just out there for its ideas. Whereas the first one was just been, I think it's low key, but it doesn't really focus on Looney Tunes as much, really. Whereas this focuses on, obviously you got LeBron James, but you also got the whole serververse thing, of course. It sets up the whole idea. That's all computer technology just taking over. We can implement you in this film, this franchise. And feels like he thinks it's a shit idea, and he gets sucked into it. And so there we go. So that's Space Jam: A New Legacy. That's number 5. That is. So number 4. I haven't got the DVD Festival as well because my parents are borrowing this DVD as well. Last Night in Soho, the recent Edgar Wright film. So I was interested to see this actually because I saw it on when I saw Quiet Place Part 2. They showcased this, they did, and also his new Edgar Wright film, Last Night in Soho, was maybe seen in 1965. A girl has visions of this pop star called Sandy, called Eloise. Eloise, the girl, the present day, sees Sandy. Obviously, this wannabe Scarlet, this this wannabe singer like the next Cilla Black or something, and ends up in the 60s. These sort of in Soho and all these clubs and stuff performing really. It is quite grim actually when you look at it and you look into this sort of disgusting, dark underbelly of Soho in the 60s, and what, people dream of being being adored by people and singing to various people in clubs and theatres and stuff, become in the charts and whatnot, mingling with the big shots. And you see this horrible underbelly, of course. I mean, that scene is when she's at the back and all these people, these dancers or something, these girls are being, let's just say, are being drugged up. They're heavily into alcohol. They're doing sexual favours from men. They're being, all this sort of stuff. It's quite shocking. It is really, and you get this whole thing of like, the whole murder thing. Of course, like she envisions Sally's murder, of course, and like she's been killed, obviously, and she's been lured in the whole thing, of course. Sleeping with men, of course, part of this whole show business thing. Again, the seedy business show business in the 60s and in Soho. It's shocking. It is. And it's very, also some of the filming techniques that they did actually was pretty interesting. Like the whole thing with the mirror image with Eloise and Sandy, with Anya Taylor-Joy and whoever that girl actress was, I forgot her name really. That's pretty good. There's some behind the scenes footage of that, and actually looks pretty impressive what Wright was doing really. Decent soundtrack as well. Good use of 60 music. A bit of some bit of 80s hit stuff as well that involves in the modern day really. So like Happy House, Susan Banshees, that sort of thing. It just works really. Matt Smith, I'd probably say, pretty good actually. I think some of his career stuff is not very good. I have to admit, but he's pretty decent in this film actually. So again, it might be giving him a bit of a career boost because he's been in a lot of flops. He has really. He picks the worst parts he does really. Must be his agent or it must be his sense of I'll go for this film that looks fantastic. He turns out a bit of a shit product in the end. Who knows? Terminator Genesis is what? Ugh. I've seen that and it's horrible. It's really bad. I saw it on Night Shift once. Ugh. Jesus Christ! I won't go near there. I won't see that film again. Christ. Yeah, I just think it was really good, and the revelation with Dame Diana Rigg, of course, it was the last film before she passed away. Really, just really good, fantastic. The revelation that she was Sandy after all, and that she was, and she murdered all those men who she was trying to sleep with, and all, it leads into psychological, fiery end. It does, and it's again just really something. It was, but it was like a twist. It pulls the rug off you. It does, and it's like oh, she killed them. She's Sandy, and she's killed those men. Oh, and she killed Jack. It's Matt Smith's character. Yeah, Christ. And also you hear that sort of mentions of what's his name? That police officer she thought was Jack, who was the show business fella. Really, obviously, so keep an eye on the ladies, really, of course. But he was actually a police officer, really. He was actually the police officer that she met in the bar when she was like meeting again the offerings, really, that sort of thing. Just good stuff, really. I think it's really good, very immersed, really good direction, very sort of colourful in some places, and very psychological, mean spirited in some places as well. But it's definitely worth checking out. If you feel like Edgar Wright, give this film a look, something like that. So that's number 4, Last Night in Soho. Number 3, top 3, we've got Ghostbusters Afterlife. So this is the third Ghostbusters film in its the actual filmography, really. We're not counting the 2016 reboot. That can go. Paul Feig's Ghostbusters, Answer the Call, is horrendous. This is following from Ghostbusters 2, and it's more focused on Egon's family, it is. Obviously, Harold Ramis passed away how many years ago, and it focuses on the family. It changes location, it does, to this small town, and the action takes place there. Apparently, where Egon was actually stationed there before his death, really, before he died or got killed. And this focuses on the family, of course. It focuses on his daughter, son and daughter, Egon's daughter, and his grandson and his granddaughter. Also, we've got Paul Rudd as well as Mr. Grouperson, the Sunday school teacher who just doesn't want to be there, which I find hilarious because he's basically checking out Tony Plates, of course. He's one that was it like a again examining his earthquakes, really, and he's just like he's not interested in teaching kids anything. And what he does is, he puts a film, he brings TV and puts a VHS on, like, kids VHS time, of course, and we're going to put Cujo on, so you can watch. So that's two hours worth watching. Watching Cujo in a police school, fucking hell. That is something. Yeah. Oh yeah, Saint Bernard. Lovely and colourful. He gets a bit bad bats and starts going on a murder's rampage. Enjoy, kids. While I'm busy going back. Again, brilliant stuff. It's done by Jason Reitman, Ivan Reitman's son, who Ivan passed away recently. I think earlier this year, really, actually. And his last films he was involved in, producing it. So it's the Reitman's film, obviously, father and son, and yes, really, it's really good. Filming wise, it's really good. The performances are really good as well. I enjoy Trevor Phoebe in podcasts as well, and who's the daughter's name? I mean, Gary Gruberson, Paul Rudd's character is really good, really fantastic. Carrie Coon, again, really, really good as well. Actually, really good. Again, really, it's really good stuff. It's interesting when you look at it. It sort of becomes like American Graffiti in some places, in terms of with the diners and the roller skating. It's like going back in time, really, and all these like real like 60s music sort of pops up. Really, it's like, oh, so okay, it just feels like that, really. It's like a coming of age film, but it's like got a supernatural element in it. The thing with it though is it's good, really good. It is, and people can say that the third act sort of goes downhill a little bit because it's retreading on ground, because Gozer returns. I look at that and actually don't think that's all right, really. I don't really mind. You got the Terror Dogs coming back. You got Me Stay Puff Marshmallows. You got like a Slimer clone. You do like this little blue caterpillar, fat caterpillar ghost, or whatever. I don't know if she's on here. I don't know. No, I don't think it's all on the album, but it's not. That's on there. That's on the. He's basically eating metal, really. Stuff his face on pipes and fire hydrants and stuff. It's interesting, and yeah, it's pretty good. Good score as well, actually, because it reuses it basically homages a lot of Elmer Bernstein's score as well. Just really good, and also at the end, of course, you get Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Ernie Hudson come back, and you get Harold Ramis, like the CGI Harold Ramis ghost. Really, people think that's a bit naff, really. I mean, I don't mind actually. He doesn't speak though. Actually, there's no dialogue between. He's just that character's silent. He's a silent ghost. He is. Obviously, helps out, but he's just silent, really. And yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was, actually. Because I was interested to see the film, obviously, but it got delayed, of course. Finally gets released, and actually, what a really good film. I don't know where they're going to go with future films, because Ivan Reitman's passed away. I'm not too sure. But they can. I don't know. Unless it's like a final chapter, really. I don't know. But I enjoyed it for what it was. Ghostbusters Afterlife. I definitely recommend seeing it. If you like Ghostbusters, if you've seen the first film and the first two, definitely worth check this out. Actually, really good, very modern, very. Again, it's like a mixture of 80s nostalgia, of course. It does have the strangest thing about it. I mean, some of the cast members could, two cast members covered Stranger Things anyway, so just like that, really. But it's definitely worth seeing. Actually, I really enjoyed it. So that's why it's number 3. Good performances, good visuals, good good music, good acting as well. Because Jason did ask them to do natural performance, and actually comes across the characters very nicely. It's more, you focus on the characters, it's about them really, than the sort of ghost things. It happens in dribs and drabs really, and then comes to the massive climax it does, but it works lovely, it does. It works fantastic. And it honours Ghostbusters really, like the Ghostbusters legacy nicely in that one. Definitely worth seeing. Definitely worth seeking out really, if you like it. So that's number 3. So, number 2 is The Suicide Squad. James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Now, I hate Suicide Squad. The first film from 2016. That is revolting, really bad. And that was the time when DC were just Warner Bros. And DC were really in a shithole. They were, because obviously you had. I mean, at the same time you had Batman v Superman, and that was just garbage. Justice League come out afterwards. It's only in 2018 when you really things were starting to improve, really. Because you had Wonder Woman, you had Shazam, which I reviewed in the last special. Aquaman came out, and obviously you've got stuff like Joker come out. We've got the Batman come out, just now actually, and obviously we've got this film, James Gunn's Suicide Squad, because that was the time when Disney let him go because of Just offensive tweets that happened years ago, like a decade ago or decades ago, and they say like, no, we've seen those, you're fired. So obviously Warner Bros picked him up, and obviously he they they wanted him to do Superman first, but I think he chose Suicide Squad because it fits his nature really. Obviously, Guardians of the Galaxy really. So yes, and my God, it's a very definite improvement. It's a right definite improvement from the first one. I'll tell you that. It does feature a few characters from the previous one. I mean, Amanda Waller's in it. She's back in it. Margot Robbie is Harley Quinn. Joel Kinnaman is Rick Flag, and Jai Courtney is Captain Boomerang. Briefly, only in the beginning of the film, he gets killed off straight afterwards in a helicopter explosion. Indeed, and you get to use a whole slew of different characters, like Z-list supervillains, of course. So, but you really get some fantastic ones. You got John Cena's Peacemaker, really good. Idris Elba, Bloodsport, really fantastic. I need to get the cast list as well. The guy who plays Polka Dot Man, again, really tragic fella, really. For what he sees, he just sees his mother all the time. That is torture. That is really, but really good. The actress who played 2 really good as well. Fantastic. So, King Shark with Sylvester Stallone doing the voice. That could be. I think you'd probably say in interviews, you'd probably do more voice work in the future. Really, you never know. But again, brilliant good stuff. You've also got Peter Capaldi as the Thinker. I would want to see more of him. Really, indie. I mean, obviously, just again, really good. It's nice to see Peter Capaldi's pretty good in everything, really. But we want to see more of him, really. And obviously, the big bad, of course, indeed, you get him, and you also get Starro, this massive giant space starfish, and just causing trouble on this South American island. It's batshit crazy. It's bloody. It's gory. It's funny. There's some good music by John Murphy in there as well. Good use of music as well, because you get like Johnny Cash, the Pixies, some modern music as well by James Gunn. So he is bringing more Guardians influence, it will make it more R-rated and more violent, just for his own vision. The beautiful, disturbing mind. Really, I think people use the trailers for this film. But my God, it's something really. I enjoyed it really. I mean, leaps and bounds than what DC put out for the past few years really. Just really good. They're finding the feet now really, and this is a good example. Stuff like Joker and the recent Matt Reeves' Batman. They really found the feet now. They are in terms of like R-rated DC films, and that sort of paves the way now. Really, seeing stuff anymore. Do something like that's R-rated. Do something that's more acceptable, and make it suitable, respectable for the source material. That's what it does. And my God, it does. It's actually crazy. It's funny. You have a good time with it, and the characters themselves, it's not focused on like Harley Quinn. Well, Margot Robbie doesn't take the spotlight all the time. You got, John Cena, Joel Kinnaman, Idris Elba, all these characters do, just take themselves, Amanda Waller's character, of course. And some of the staff members, of course, who basically work with Waller as well, get some screen time as well. And obviously the freedom fighters who basically join them, or Rick Flag devices, again, really good stuff. Fantastic. I think, again, really good. So that's a number 2. So I really enjoyed it for what it was. Really good. So, number 1. And this might come no surprise, really. What number 1 is, really. I think it's the obvious pick, really. I think for a few people, probably not many people, but for most people, 2021, there we go. So, on the top of the list, we have No Time to Die, obviously. So, Daniel Craig's 5th and final Bond film, directed by Cary Fukunaga, and it's got different people like Neil Purvis and Robert Wade involved, and you've got Phoebe Waller-Bridge doing some extra rewrites, including it, of course. This film had a very troubled production, like troubled development after Spectre, really, because Danny Boyle and John Hodge were meant to be on the film, and they bowed out. Dan Roma, who's went to Cary Fukunaga on many projects, was signed on to score, but he left. Hans Zimmer replaced him, and yeah, it's something else. The pandemic. This film had probably been shunned mostly throughout the whole pandemic. Really, meant to come out in April 2020, then it got bumped to November 2020, then back to April then April 2021, and now September 2021. But it's finally released in September. Was it worth the wait? Yes, it was. It was really the experience itself was really good, because it's a different, again, like a different feel to me. This sort of returns to Craig's, like it returns to the sort of brutalness of like Casino Royale. You've got the romantic, you've got like the emotional element, which it's very strong. It's quite strong in this one. It is really. Indeed, compared to Spectre, from the previous one, Spectre, that I really don't. I mean, I don't have much love for Spectre really. I don't think it's very good really. Not a good Bond film really in many ways. And compared to Skyfall and Casino Royale, this sort of stands along them two really. Just down to its location, action filming. There's some good cast members as well indeed. So we've got a few people return. We've got the few returning people, of course. Craig, Léa Seydoux. You've got Ben Whishaw, Ray Fiennes, Naomi Campbell, Rory Kinnear is in it. Rory Kinnear, and Jeffrey Wright as well. You also get new characters as well. You got Natasha Lynch. You got Amicia Diamis, Rami Malek, and you got what's his name? Billy. What's his name? I should forgot his name now. Billy Magnuson. That's it. And some guy plays Primo, of course, and Christopher Waltz returns as well. He does briefly, and he gets killed off. The thing about it is, I've noticed with this, obviously, because there was some, you get the good action moments. Craig's fantastic in it. The stuff that they filmed really is fantastic. The open chase sequence in around Italy, the Aston Martin and everything else, really good stuff, really. But that's fantastic. The whole opening itself, the whole opening stuff is really interesting in terms of Madeline's past. The chase sequence really and it obviously opens up. It sort of gets on a very good start, really. You've also got people like Hugh Dennis in the film at the beginning, after the credit sequence, after the title scenes from Billie Eilish song. He's in it. I was quite surprised actually. It's like, wait, what? He's in this film? What the hell? He gets killed actually briefly, so it's like, my God, wow. Well, at least he could probably retire and say I was in a Bond film. So there we go. He can retire from stand-up comedy. He's probably maybe done that now. I don't know. I'm only joking. He's probably retired from acting, doing comedy stand-up and going on panel shows and stuff. He retired because he's been no time to die. He can sit back and just retire. Really, who knows? I'm not joking. Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. Good action sequences in terms of Cuba. Paloma, really good character. Shame that she wasn't in it. Shame that she wasn't the Bond girl for this film, really, because she appeared in Knives Out with Daniel Craig. So I think he recommended her to join the film. I think something like that. Obviously she's really good, really fantastic. Jeffrey Wright's fantastic. He gets killed off. He does by Ben Magnuson. I think the thing is with this film is interesting because you got Rami Malek as well in it, who is done great stuff. Wasn't really good as Freddie. Well, he's good as Freddie Mercury. The film was a bit shit anyway. Really, and also Mr. Robot. He's done. You think like, someone like him, he'd be really good. You don't really see him as much in this film. But he's seen briefly when he talks to Madeline. Really, then you see him halfway through when he tries. He's like in dribs and drabs really. And you don't really see him interact with Bond as much in to the very end really when he reaches the island. Well, when he's in Norway, then reaches the island, of course. Well, something like that really. And it's like there's no. It's like with other Bond films, you don't really see them interact as much, really. You see the Bond interact with the main villain, really. Sort of throughout, really. But with this one, you really don't. It's more to Madeline, really, centered around her childhood, her past, really, and what Mr. White had done, really, and also he kills all the rogue agents in Spectre and Blofeld as well. So he has a mention point on that one. But also the three henchmen sort of overshadow him, really, I think. Because you've got Billy Madison as well, who's sort of like undercover, this rogue agent, of course, who worked for the CIA with Felix Leiter, just to turn on them. You've got, what's his bloody name? I can't really see him. Doesn't really show. Shit. The Russian scientist, of course, I forgot his name. Obuchev, that's it. Yeah, Obachev's in it, and you've got Primo as well. So they're sort of like the three prominent villains throughout this film, really. and Rami Malek sort of takes a back seat until the very final act, really. It looks good, I can tell you that. Very threatening, very sinister, very sort of Doctor No-ish, and that's what people probably thought. Really, you think like, oh, he's going to be like a modern version of Doctor No. Not really. There's like Robert Hands, and they probably assume that his heart's on the other side, really, because that's what Doctor No's character needs to be characterized, really. Um, yeah, that sort of thing. Um, but it's again, the action's brutal. I mean, the ending with between him and Safin is quite brutal. I mean, like, he actually literally literally breaks his hand, like rips, probably breaks the bones in his hand. It is quite brutal, I'll tell you that. It's in moderate. It's quite strong, really. It sort of turns the whole Casino Royale era, really, in terms of how brutal it is. Jeez. And obviously you see like people like being horridously burnt, like in Cuba, with the whole Spectre mist thing, and obviously Obcho getting kicked or get thrown in a pool of acid, in a river of acid, and Safin Gay's boy gets shot in the head, and Gay's well, guess his hand he ripped off by Bond. So yeah, obviously the main thing about this is when Bond gets killed. He gets killed in a missile strike because he gets poisoned. He can't see Madeline and Mathilde, his daughter, and and basically and gets perished. He does, really. Although they probably say like James Bond will return. I think at this point, there's going to be like another relaunch, really, because I think Craig's era, it's an ongoing story arc over 5 films, really. From Casino Royale to No Time to Die. I think they'll probably do the same when the next statue comes along. Depends how many films he or she probably does, really. I think probably he probably do. I think, and yeah, just a really good experience. I saw in cinemas when it came out on the opening night, actually, in end of September when it came out. Really good. I had a funny story actually, because I met one of my close friends. He was sat next to me. I didn't know that actually, because when the film actually rolled, he was surprised to next to me. We just got the shock of our lives. Like, what the fuck are you doing here? It's like it was a funny experience. It was really. I think I told this in the e-box. I think, or not really. That deleted e-box actually never existed. So that's gone time now. There we are. But it was really fantastic. Really good stuff. I enjoyed it for what it was. And it was a satisfying end to his era, really, because obviously we don't know what was going on with his era, because he said like he was fully finished with Spectre. Spectre, I don't know. I never saw Spectre. It's interesting, really, because I saw through Craig's era, I saw his from Casino Royale to Skyfall. I went to the cinema and saw them. I never saw Spectre in cinemas, so I don't have much love for it, really. I just don't know. I don't get the feeling I like the other films, really. Because I saw them on when they were released in cinemas, really. But with Spectre, I just don't. I mean, Quantum Solace is the worst film because that's a complete mess. That is, really. But Spectre's next, largely because I don't have much love for it, really. I just don't have I don't have the same feeling for like all the rest, really. But it ranks because it's it's more big scale. It's got a story to it, really. Indeed, but I think something milk the final act of that film just really just goes flat to its face, really. There we go. It's on par with Casino Royale and Skyfall. This is. I'd probably say I don't know if I'd put this above Skyfall or below. I just don't know, really. I think Skyfall's very overrated, though. I mean, it's a good film, but it's very overrated. Obviously, I prefer Casino Royale any day because how brutal it is. My first film I saw in the cinema, my first Bond film I saw in the cinemas, and just Craig's performance at that point, like like Bond in his early days, for at his beginning as being a 00, how brutal it is. It sort of returns to brutalness as well in this film. It works wonderfully. It sort of comes full circle. It does this film, ties up loose ends, but it also has themes that comes back to it. Like it's again the grounded stuff, like him just being brutally and actually being he's been what's the thing. Out of his depth from being winded and being battered to death. Like he's struggling, but he's also battered the fuck he is. Like he's been through hell throughout this film, and it works. It's wonderfully done. It is, and you see it through his performance as well, and it's just wow. Hans Zimmer's score, that's okay, really. I don't mind. It's got Johnny Marr as well. Steve Jablonski as well is included in this film, I think. So they've basically done that sort of thing, you know, and it's all right, really. It does fall into his wall of sound thing, really, but he's done some interesting scores in the beforehand, really. But it just has that whole wall of sound. Really, there's some good moments to it, really, and he does use the Bond theme interestingly. But he just follows that sort of like cut and paste wall sound thing that he comes through his film. These, post Batman Begins, really. You know, it sort of feels like that, really. There's some interesting. There's little bits of stuff that's sort of interesting, really. It does homage a Majesty's Secret Service quite a bit, actually. Even though the film ends on with All Town World, really, strangely. Billie Eilish's song, "No Time to Die." When I first heard it, I'm not really keen on the music though. That's the problem, you know. And it's interesting. I think people weren't really. My mum was really keen on it. Really, they feel like, oh, the song's a bit shit. Really, I think when it gets to the end, when it reaches his like heavy, right to his final part, really, it sort of builds up. Does it really reaches the end? It sort of ends up nicely. Same with and also the Tarsing as well. Again, homages Secret Service. Doctor No, it does as well. Like in terms of its 60s pop art style, and it just goes like that, really. But really good, fantastic. In terms of visuals and stuff like that. So yeah, it's alright. Really comes up to the end. It really works. It does. That's all I can say, really. So I'm not too sure where they're going to go after this film. I don't know. They're going to say I think Margaret Wilson and Barry Broccoli, they say they're going to cast this year and see who's going to come. I think it's not until, I don't know, maybe it could be like the 60th, what was it? I don't know. 60th anniversary, yeah, of Doctor No. They'll probably announce it from there, really. I don't know. On the 60th anniversary of when Doctor No was first released, with a new Bond, new actor. I think that's what's going to happen, really. I think they're going to leave until when Bond entered and came on big screen and say, "Yep, this is the new actor who's going to play Bond." So there we go. So there we go, guys. That is the ranking of the best, 2021 films I've seen, actually. There was one honorable mention I didn't want to include, which is Coming to America. It felt like it might have been still up on hours, and because Eddie Murphy plays the dad, mostly he focuses on the son, really. So it just feels like still up on hours, really. But like American version, it's a film. The original '88 film, fantastic. I love that film. But the sequel stuff, it just falls flat, really. I can't imagine they're doing like a sequel to The Golden Child or do a Beverly Hills Cop 4. Jesus Christ, imagine that. But it seemed like a good idea, on paper, and feeling like, oh, that could be interesting. So Peter Kim has returned, and actually, and see what happens there, obviously. But it felt a bit flabbish, really. I only seen it on Amazon Prime. I never got the DVD or anything. So there we go. So I left it off the list, really. So there we go. That's all I can say. Thank you for watching, guys. What is your top 10 films from 2020 and 2021? I'd love to know. Comment down below of this special. Okay, guys? Thank you so much. Anyway, guys, I'll see you for the next video. See you later.